Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Adam and Sarah here, the Green Executive.
Hello, hello. So, we've had kind of a rough year, and it seems like out there on the internet that a lot of people have been experiencing loss this year. So, for ourselves, we're examining what happens in succession. What happens when we can't be around for our family, but also for the business. And it's not something very pleasant to think about, but very, very important. So, what's your thoughts on that, Adam? What happens to the business when you can't be there to run it?
Sure.
What would I do if you weren't running Lindemann Lawn Care anymore? Those are all things to think about, and I think that it's important to know, to talk, to have that conversation.
Well, we both had grandmothers that passed away this year, and like you said, there's a lot of things that some people, even since they passed weeks or months later, that we don't know about. And so, like you said, what can we do to set up the, if something like that were to ever happen, to be much more easier of a transition? So, I mean, we could go on and on, I feel like, for this live on more details, but things to be thinking about is not necessarily even if you die, but do you have short-term disability plans, right? We talked that if you were to pass, do I know where your password book is at? Right? Like, how do I get in QuickBooks and run payroll?
Yeah.
And
like what? So at the things I handle at the Green Executive, would he know what to do or how to reach out to those clients? And what would we do if both of us were unable to take care of things? So very important conversations to have, not only to get down on paper in black and white legally what would happen to your business, but also have the conversation because, in our experience, just because it says one thing in black and white, the person's wishes aren't always known either. So that's important as well. But, do those worst case scenarios. Sit down and have the conversation with your family, with your team. And I think the number one step in moving towards the business going on is to think of it as you were building it to sell.
Yeah.
Get those processes in place. Because then whether you go on vacation or something happens that you can't be at work, at least those processes and systems are in place and the business can carry on, short term, and then those long term worst case scenario conversations are so key.
I remember back in the day before we had landscape specific software at Lindemann, we would go on vacation and I just had a printed out 5-day Monday through Friday worksheet of this is what I want the team to accomplish. So yeah, I mean, you could translate that into almost a will and a trust and how you want things to happen with your business if something were to happen to you as well. So it needs to be written down, it needs to be stored somewhere, it needs to be available to whoever may need it.
And I think getting those processes and that information, a lot of owner-operators tend to have it all in their head, and that works, but does it work if you can't come to work? Would your family still be able to run the business, sell the business, whatever, but would the business just die with that lack of one person being able to be there? And that would be a shame, and I don't think anybody wants that for their family, for that loss of multiple ways.
Well, and then one more thing to think about is what happens to all the debt, the liabilities. How is that taken care of as well? Because you don't want to leave that behind to your significant other or your family to have to deal with as well. So a lot to think about.
Important conversations to have.
Yeah.
And they're not just going to happen unless you make them happen. So get them on the calendar. Make time to do that. Get your information down and out of your head and get those processes in place.
Have a good upcoming week, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Take care. See ya.